So, we are going to be tackling this in two parts. We are going to be doing no spoilers today in a review of The Batman, the movie I saw yesterday, last night, and I gotta talk about it. In a couple days, we'll be putting up a spoiler review where we'll be talking about it, my wife and I, and going more in depth on different things. So, here we're going to avoid that. If you enjoy this, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and please keep it kind in the comments for the spoiler stuff too, because my mods will go through and remove stuff if you're really being egregious about it. But here's the thing with this movie. Real brief review. I loved it. I absolutely adored this movie. Now, I've seen a lot of people before this movie came out actually dismissing Robert Pattinson, thinking, oh, well, he's not going to do a good job. He's the Twilight guy. It's kind of to me like saying that Margot Robbie is the Suicide Squad girl, or saying that Will Smith is what was it, After Earth guy? Well, is that what it was called? I don't remember. Such a bad movie, but regardless, mediocre. The thing with that is that I think that a lot of people were kind of typecasting Robert Pattinson ahead of time and not giving him the credit he deserves. And I gotta be honest, he blew me away. Him and Zoe Kravitz were both so good. Zoe played Catwoman and he played Batman, obviously, and I loved the way they played these characters. It's going to be a little difficult, and I'm going to dance around some stuff so I don't give away any particulars beyond maybe what you've seen in a trailer, but you do know that the cast lineup was already very interesting going in. It's something I was looking forward to, and this movie did not disappoint. To me, this is probably the one Batman that I don't have to excuse anything away from in terms of live action. Okay, when it comes to Batman, I'm not saying comic accuracy, all right? I want the character to be accurate to the soul of the character from the comics. I don't need one-to-one. I know some people want that. I don't need it. But in terms of liking those characters beforehand, I probably liked maybe Michael Keaton the best, even though he did kill a little bit. And I really, really did also like Ben Affleck's Batman, although I thought he was not given enough. You know, like there was no solo movie, nothing like that. I know that people really connect with Bale on The Dark Knight and stuff like that. I just don't. I enjoy those movies a lot, but they're not my favorite thing ever. This movie to me was what I wanted The Dark Knight to be. This was sort of a modernization of Batman like The Dark Knight was, but also marrying in that comic source material in a really, really cool way. It does its own thing in different ways. Like, for example, Riddler, you've seen him in the trailers. He is not the comic book Riddler. He is very different in terms of his appearance. However, this is early Riddler, and in a lot of ways, it does still capture the soul and heart of that character while modernizing him, I suppose, for a real-world setting. This isn't supposed to be a massively grand comic book setting, but it does draw heavily on those elements to make something really, truly awesome. I love the action in this movie. It was done superbly, and I think that there are two scenes in this movie that I truly think if you're a big fan of like the Ben Affleck Batman's action in something like BVS, these scenes will connect with you very, very well. So one thing I do want to talk about with this as well is actually the other element of it, which is the detective element of Batman. Because Batman's always sort of shown in the movies as really strong, fast guy who beats the crap out of everybody. He is the hero, right? But one thing we don't get to see enough of from Batman is the detective side. Sure, we see a little bit in something like Batman 89 or Returns, with Michael Keaton's Batman, sort of looking into who Jack Nicholson's Joker is. And yeah, we see a little bit in something like The Dark Knight, where we actually get to see the bullet analysis and Christian Bale's Batman going over that for the Joker and some other stuff. But we don't actually get to see a ton of in-depth smart Batman. Ironically, probably the closest we've gotten to that in live action is Batman Forever, also with the Riddler, where Batman was actually forced to solve these riddles. A movie, by the way, that I think is actually a little underrated and not that bad. It's really fun. But this movie does that in a serious way. Think the Zodiac Killer meets the Riddler, but with all of the intelligence of comics Riddler, okay? This is a Riddler with a lot to prove, a lot to do, and a lot to say, and a Batman who is trying the best he can early on in his career to figure out that character. He's also going through and meeting all kinds of other characters throughout the story. Some relationships are already established, some are not. But one thing that I think is done really, really well is the humanization of Robert Pattinson's Batman in this movie. You can tell he feels things. His delivery is not flat. He's not a Batman that's been doing this for 20, 25 years, so he's not, really, really stoic and set in his ways, but he's also not a Batman who's, started out yesterday, like in something like Batman Year One, and he's getting his ass kicked. He's somewhere in the middle, and I think that that's been really, really cool to see with this movie. Really, there were concerns that people had with the casting. Obviously, I know some people were concerned with Gordon, thinking like, I haven't seen this actor. Who is he? What does he do? But I got to be honest with you, as somebody who never saw him before, right? As someone who was just kind of like going in blind, this Gordon and Batman dynamic is the best we've gotten to see in a movie. This is the best Batman Gordon dynamic I've ever seen. It is up there with something like the DCAU, where you actually get to see a friendship. You get to see a relationship between these characters, and you get to understand why they work together and why they like each other. Pretty much what I'm saying is I didn't walk away from this movie with any major complaints. There was maybe a point in the middle where I wished there was another action scene, just because the action scenes kicked ass, whether they were Batman, Catwoman, whether they were on the road, on hand, didn't matter. They were amazing. And there was a small thing at the end that I'm wondering how they're going to move forward with in the future. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just wondering where they're going to take it. But this is probably my favorite live action Batman portrayal with just one movie. Now, I know I said before that my favorite was Keaton. I still think he falls in second place for me. I really, really like Keaton. I know he kills. I don't really care. I just like him because, it's the multiverse of DC characters. He's allowed to be a little different. But this is probably the best Batman at capturing the soul, heart, and essence of who that character is in the comics. This is a Batman that isn't just the mask. It's not as much like The Dark Knight or Batman Begins, where you don't really get to see a ton of Bruce's feelings beyond pining for Rachel. That's really the main thing you get to see out of Bruce in those movies. This is a Batman who is three-dimensional. He is Bruce Wayne. He is Batman. They are the same person, and also they have some pretty distinct differences. It's not a split personality like it is in something like Frank Miller, where often it's portrayed a little bit almost like schizophrenic in something like The Dark Knight Returns. It's not quite that way, but it also is something where these two, not personalities, but this alter ego for this person, you understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's still Bruce Wayne when he's in the bat suit. He's still Batman when he's in the Bruce suit. This is a three-dimensional character who I think really captured something that we were missing in Batman movies, and that was hope. Something that I think is missing a little too much in previous live-action Batman. It's something Superman is able to capture very well in his comics and his movies, but I think a lot of directors and writers have missed this element with Batman. He's not just fear, he's not just anger, he's not just vengeance, and he's not just a rich guy running around punching people. He's not these two-dimensional breakdowns of the character that people have reduced him to in recent years, whether it be online on social media or in certain books or even movies. He is a three-dimensional human being who is incredibly scarred, has gone through a lot, and still will go through a lot in a human journey. And I thought that that was incredible. I will also say that this topped Batman Returns for a Batman Catwoman dynamic for me, which I think is incredible. And there was not a single character that showed up in this movie that I would not want to see again, which is probably extremely rare for me, where there wasn't a character that I thought was just throwaway garbage. I loved this so much. I had such a good time, and I highly recommend it to anybody who is a fan of this character, whether it is the Arkham version of Batman, whether it is the comic book version of main continuity Batman, pre or post New 52, either one. No matter what you're into with Batman, I really do think there will be something there for you. Even if you were just a casual fan, someone who watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and Rises and that's it, that's all you cared about, or just played Arkham and watched that, this captures those elements perfectly while adding on to them beyond what those things did. I loved it so much. I can't wait to talk spoilers with you. Jill, are you wanting to say something? Oh, okay. Jill's smiling at me, so I think I should wrap it up. So excited to talk to you more in a couple of days about it. We're going to do some more videos in the meantime, but please be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love everything. Top-notch acting, top-notch casting, action, detective work, the scenery, the music. I didn't even mention the music. Perfection. I loved it. So I'm interested to hear what you think. To me, this is what I wanted The Dark Knight to be. Still love that movie. I really do. But this is probably my Dark Knight. Have a fantastic day. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't. And as always, everyone, stay shui.